Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 341 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Rob Garcia. He's a repeat guest, and this is part of Vetrepreneurs Month on Screw the Commute podcast. Listen, this guy has 8 books, 135 interviews, and more than that really by now. He started a magazine. He's winning business awards, and he had a silver spoon in his mouth. You'll hear all about that later. So that's none of that stuff's a big deal. You'll hear about that a little bit later. So check out episode 340 if you missed it. I talked all about lead magnets and ethical bribes for list building. I have a brand new ebook out on list building, the ultimate guide to list building. And that's what I talked about in episode 340. And of course, for all Rob stuff and all the links, anything we talk about, you can find the episode at screwthecommute.com/341. Anything you ever want to find episode-wise, that's how you do it. All right, how'd you like to hear your own voice here on Screw the Commute? Well, if the show's helped you out at all in your business or given you ideas to help you start a business, we want to hear about it. Visit screwthecommute.com and look for a little blue sidebar that says send a voicemail. Click on it, talk into your phone or computer, and tell me how the show's helped you. And hey, don't forget to put your website in there, and you'll get a big shout out in front of thousands of people in a future episode of Screw the Commute. Also, you got to get a copy, and you got to do more than get a copy. You got to actually use the darn thing. I'm giving away a $27 ebook for you listening to the show called How to Automate Your Business. It's how I handled up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. You can get it at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. Use the darn thing. I'm telling you, it's been the lifeblood of my business. Allows me to steal business from other customers or companies because they're too slow to get back to people and all kinds of good stuff like that. Actually saved me 7.5 million keystrokes, just one of the tips in there. So grab a copy of that book. Also, grab a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP, where you can put it on your cell phone and tablets and take us with you on the road. It does all kinds of cool stuff. Now, everybody's freaking out, folks, about this pandemic, but I'm not. Rob's not. His students aren't. My students aren't, because we know how to sell online and do things, okay? We're not just sitting around doing nothing and crying in our, crying because of this pandemic. You got to take the bull by the horns and do something about it. And that's what he's going to talk about. That's what I talk about. And I formalized my training in 2 ways. One, over 20 years ago in my mentor program, which I'll tell you about later. And 12 years ago, I took 3 years of scrutiny to get the only licensed dedicated internet marketing school in the country. Nobody on earth has gone through the scrutiny that I have with background checks and all this bonding and all this stuff to get the license. So check that out at imtcva.org. It's a great thing for you, or a great legacy gift for a young person in your life, nephews, nieces, grandchildren, because, they're spending all this money going to 4-year colleges now. And hey, our guest is a Ph.D. So, both of us believe in higher education, but right now, it's changed. People are just, going to school, paying $80,000 to get indoctrinated and learn how to protest. So, and then they're competing for jobs at Starbucks because they have no marketable skills. So this school gives you hardcore skills. And we had one girl's making $6,000 a month on the side, and her dad had spent $80,000 on her college education, and she was working a crappy job. And he gifted the scholarship to her, and bam, she's took right off with it. So, because these skills are needed by every business on earth. So we'll tell you about how you can get a full scholarship later if you're in my mentor program. All right, let's get to the main event. Rob is the warrior strategist. He quit his job as a technical writer to follow his passion of being a business educator. He founded Shift, make sure you can hear that clearly. What I'm, because shift happens. Advanced Life Design magazine, and then created the Design Your Paycheck group to teach experts how to monetize their skills by making ebooks, doing consulting calls and courses, and a lot more after that. So, Rob, you ready to screw the commute?
I absolutely am, Tom.
All right. So glad to have you back, man. Been about a year since we had Vetrepreneurs Month in September, and on behalf of everybody that listens and myself, we want to thank you for your service and all the service you're doing for regular folk and vets now. So tell everybody what you're doing now, and then we'll take you back a little bit, see how you got where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm running Shift Advanced Life Design magazine. We just released our new issue with Steve Sims. Had a very good year. We actually scored an interview with Scott Oldford right before the pandemic hit. So I've been interviewing some pretty heavy hitters, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's one thing I do. And then I started a group called Design Your Paycheck, which is a membership site. And basically I teach people how to monetize their skill set using 20 plus techniques. So it could be courses, ebooks, virtual events, consulting packages, all this stuff. So that's what I've been up to.
You teach them, you've gotten some really good publicity. Is that part of their teaching them that?
No, because what happened was, Tom, is that I started a course a couple of years ago called Tactical CEQ.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
that's the one with the publicity stuff.
Yeah. So I started that, and after I'd landed, back then, I was still starting off, and I'd had about 120 interviews, and these days I think I'm up to about 170. And after I'd had that many interviews, I put it into this course, and it ended up, breaking 25,000 in sales. And I mean, organically. I've never taken out Facebook ads for it. So just the demand was there. I had some good results. And so after I created this course and got it out there and made those results, I was like, well, why am I not teaching other people how to do this? Because this isn't really that hard, and people have a lot of different skill sets they could turn into, monetizable income. They just need a medium of transmission.
So did you start out concentrating on the vet market, or did you go right to the mainstream?
It's about 50-50 with veterans and civilians.
But how did you start when you first started? Still same 50-50?
Yeah, pretty much. I just focus on, like you, I just try and be visible across a couple different channels and really convey strong messaging.
Got it. Now, I want to read something from an interview you did with San Diego Voyager. And, I was teasing folks in the beginning, and it's okay with Rob. He tells this story himself, but this was something you said in the Voyager, and I quote, "After being raised in a family of alcoholics and drug addicts, I failed high school, and I failed 2 colleges due to a learning disability. I joined the Air Force and finally had structure and food, and I was able to complete my education, learned about leadership and teamwork, and moved to my dream city, San Diego, and he now is a Ph.D. that teaches other people as a professor." So how the heck does a person that comes from that background get the heck out of there?
The $1 million question. It all comes with a desire for success, Tom, and not a desire for money, a desire for success, like balance, happiness.
How can you learn that when you came from that background? I mean, you'd see it seems like you were surrounded with failure.
Yeah, there were 3 different phases of my life. And so that first phase was kind of a rough one. But what I did, I literally moved 1,500 miles away, and I never, ever went back. And once I joined the military, it did give me that stability in chicken.
And food.
Yeah. Food. That's what I wanted. So I was able to go to school at night, and I worked really, really hard. I was able to finish my bachelor's in 2.5 years. And
this is after flunking out of high school and flunking out of 2 colleges.
Yeah.
And then the Air Force straightened you up. Is that what it looked like?
Yeah, they're very good at taking care. Everybody knows it's quality of life with the Air Force, and it's very true. And I lucked out because I had a job that was conducive with night school. And so I was fixing B-52 bombers during the day, and then at night I would go to college, and then
They
on the
probably
weekends,
need a lot of fixing too, because they're old, right?
yeah, most of them are from the 50s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that schedule, I was able to finish stuff up, and then I moved to San Diego and immediately became a tow truck driver and enrolled in grad school same time.
Wow. Did you get into any crazy situations in the tow truck thing?
I'll tell you, most people have no idea how dangerous it is. I was terrified half the time. I'm not mechanically inclined, and when you're fixing a flat tire with cars speeding by you next to your head, like a couple feet away, it's pretty scary.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second here. You're not mechanically inclined, all right, but you were working on airplanes.
Well, I was an electronics guy on airplanes.
Okay, all right.
Electronics. Yeah, I couldn't do anything to an engine except point and hire somebody.
All right, that's good. So, but I mean, did you have to do any repossessions and stuff?
We did do a couple of repossessions, but the police were always there when we made those calls. Thank God, because I've heard stories. People do come out with guns.
Yeah, really. So, tow truck driver to professor of business. Wow. There's a title for a book right there, right? And speaking of books, you have 8 books out. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I learned the process is self-publishing. Just like with the magazine, I kind of just taught myself how to do it. And so once the technology changed and we were able to self-publish, completely changed the game. So I just started writing books about things that were in my wheelhouse. So I wrote about charter schools and about technical jobs, and the latest one I did a few years ago was called The Next Level Supercharged, and I taught speed learning because when I hit my 20s, I had this problem, this learning disability, and I realized that other people probably have learning disabilities as well, and so why not show them the things I did to overcome it and to be able to learn on a level of my peers. And I for me personally, Tom, because I'm a kinesthetic tactile learner, I work better with diagrams and colors. And so that's one of the techniques is diagrams. And so I outlined 16 different learning techniques in this book and teaching people how to speed learn things.
Wow. That's crazy. Now, how do you, where do they find your books?
You can Google them, or you can go on lulu.com, LULU. And most of them are on there. Just Lulu, Rob Garcia, Google search will probably bring most of them up.
Yeah. And so which one are you most proud of?
The current one, The Next Level Supercharged. It's got interactive worksheets, a lot of diagrams, and I had pretty good sales on it.
All right. Now, how did you come up with this moniker, the warrior strategist? And how do you define a warrior? Because I've heard other people talk about warriors, but what's it mean to you and the people you help?
So the warrior strategist came from the need for planning and execution, pretty much a military concept that I feel more entrepreneurs should embrace. So let me ask you, Tom, you have all these processes going, you have all these things, social media, interviews, all this stuff. Do you spend a day strategizing and planning?
No, I just get my fire extinguisher out every morning, put out fires.
And a lot of people do that. And what I like to encourage, like you apparently figured it out, which is great.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a fanatic though. Remember, no family, no anything, just some dogs here, and I work 7 days a week. I just am immersed. So you can overcome a lot of hassles if you decide not to have a regular life.
I'm the exact same way. I'm sitting alone in a giant apartment in San Diego right now. It's great. But so what I tell people is to spend a day. I have a method called 151. And what that means is spend one day planning out your social media, planning out your interviews, like what you're going to do in business, your income streams, your income goals, all this stuff. 1 day of planning, 5 days of execution, actually, doing the actions, and then 1 day off. And I feel that brings a lot more structure to people. And I feel that it takes a lot off their plate.
You know what? You're destined to be a billionaire. You know how I know?
How?
Well, I was sitting in a billionaire's house at dinner, just me and him, his wife and myself. And he said, and after dinner, he took me aside and he said, Tom, and he'd known me for a while prior to that. He said, Tom, you should be sitting by the pool just thinking. That's that's like an abbreviated what you just said, right? I should be thinking instead of doing. See, I came from blue collar, I liked my hands and everything and the wires. And if something breaks in the house or the estate, I go fix it myself. And I love that kind of stuff, So he said, no, he says, you should be sitting by the pool thinking. That's all he said. And what he meant was exactly what you just said. So you apparently have the mind of a billionaire.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because you're right. Most people get up and look for the fire extinguisher and then go downstairs or go to work. Their dreaded job, and that's pretty much your goal, right? Is to get them out of the dreaded job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, my goal is to help them find what makes them happy. And for some people like working, but other people want to be their own boss, and that's where I really thrive.
Yeah, and you know what boss spells backwards, don't you? Double SOB. So I tell people, if you really enjoyed going to work and socializing, just get a water fountain for your home, or else start to smoke and go stand out in front of your house and just talk to yourself. And pretend like you're back at the job.
Get the experience.
Now, again, it just amazes me. There's something else I read from one of your interviews. My mom was an alcoholic and was addicted to crack for a year, to a point where she had to give me away. I mean, I almost got tears in my eyes when I read that, to relatives while she got clean. How old were you? How did you feel at that time?
I was 12 or 13. And to be honest, I didn't find out about this until I think I was 33. I just knew that I went to stay with my grandparents for a while, and I never knew why.
Oh.
And sometime later, my mom and I were on the phone, and we just talked about it. And she let that one slip, and I asked a couple questions. I probably got pretty angry, and then that was that.
Wow, that's amazing that you were just, maybe it's better. I don't know. But it's just, you're such an inspiration to people coming from that kind of background and overcoming it and reaching the pinnacles of education and spending your time helping others. It's just, it's really something to be proud of, buddy.
I appreciate that, Tom. And coming from you especially, it means a lot.
Well, like I said, I had a nice family. Like I said, we were small town, blue collar, but I had a mom and dad, and couldn't really stand my mother that much. My dad was pretty good, but it's similar though that once I graduated, I left and I swore I would never come back. Now I even listen to this, Rob. I hated my mother so much, I went to Santa school, so that over Christmas, I wouldn't have to come home. I had Santa jobs to do. I bet you don't know anybody that's gone that far. So, I went to Santa school, and that way I could say, I can't make it home. Like we got jobs for the kids, So,
that's amazing.
I was, and I don't want to brag, all right, but I was the Santa for National Geographic's Christmas party in D.C. 3 years running. So there you go. But you don't know anybody that's done that. But I was a little bit of a bad Santa too. After I did the kids' parties, I did a late night bad Santa, Santa, and I'd go up to, after the kids went to bed, I did the regular Santa, and then the kids would go to bed and everybody else is still there. So then I would say, hey, Santa's been known to lay a few dolls under the Christmas tree. And I'd say, like, sit on Santa's face and tell him what you want for Christmas, stuff like that. This is probably going to end up explicit, this episode. So anyway, so I won't say I had it rough because I always had what I needed, but my dad just put a big work ethic in me, and so that's the way I made it. But still, it was a 2-horse town. And where were you from originally, did you say?
Eureka, California.
Eureka.
The mean streets.
That's a cool name. And then now is San Diego still the the love of your life, like, or things changing there? I mean, all we hear back east is like the whole place is exploding and blowing up and there's poop on the ground. And so what's
San Diego is still pretty nice. Beaches are amazing. We don't have a ton of restrictions. We have homeless like everybody else, but it's not nearly as out of control as like LA and San Francisco.
You do have a magazine restriction to 10 rounds.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Very true. I had to think about that for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, you were thinking about your magazine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can have as many copies of that as you want.
I'm still very happy here. I don't know if I'll ever move. I've been here 18 years now, and it was my dream. And I guess I got to make some new dreams now, but it's been amazing.
Well, the crazy thing is I mean, did you hear that statistic about like U-Haul trucks?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like it costs a fortune to get one in LA to come to Vegas, but Vegas is cheap to go back. So I mean, literally like 10 times more. So people are leaving like crazy. I mean, it's scary. And then the fires. Well, you don't have anything to do with that down where you are, right?
We had one about 25 miles east that was a problem, and then I think they got it under control now. But once in a while, it gets a little crazy. We have a couple days where we woke up and there was smoke in the air.
Wow. So, yeah, but I've got students up Northern California that the sky is I mean, the sky is like weird. It's like a crazy apocalypse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and fires going everywhere, and then some dumb arse, let's say, set the whole place on fire with a reveal, like a smoke machine or something, set the whole place on fire when they were doing a reveal party on what sex their baby was, and that's claimed to set the whole thing on fire. Jesus. So now in this Design Your Paycheck, what do you get into in that when you're helping people? What kind of things do you teach them?
So we've covered about 20 different subjects now. And so there's a giant archive. So every week I put out an ebook based on the training, and we've covered the first three. I always tell everybody is design an ebook, a mini course, and a consulting call. And once they master those three, then they can move on to the more complex stuff, because even I didn't realize, Tom, that there's differences in complexity. So the difference between a group coaching, a one-on-one, a do-it-yourself evergreen course, consulting packages. And so we have all these different ways of monetizing. And I'm going to tell you something interesting, Tom. The listeners are going to love this. Some people don't have skill sets. They just don't have, let's say they've been taking care of their kids for 20 years. They never got to go to school. They never developed any skill set. And they come to me and they're like, well, how do I make money even if I don't know how to do anything? And I say, you know what? Start a media platform and interview famous people. Boom. Mm-hmm. Just like I did with my magazine, and then sell advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a way right there. But I tend to believe that they don't have any skills. I mean, they probably had hobbies, and they could, I mean, there's an embroidery site that's got like 20,000 members at $10 a month.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There are amazing business models you would never think would
exactly.
You just have to get popular is the thing.
Yeah. But a lot of the people that don't think they have anything to sell really do when you sit down and explore it with them. But what you just said is an easy way to, just jump right in, start doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what the latest one is, Tom, that I've had the most demand for?
What's that?
The most success is sponsorship packages for podcasts. Mm-hmm. So let's say I have 4 members now that have podcasts, and they haven't quite monetized yet. So altogether, we ended up making these sponsorship packages. We made tiers. I taught them how to promote the sponsors, all this different stuff. And I can happily say that 3 people have now sold packages, recurring revenue every month from their podcast that they did not have before.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And recurring is even better. It's I tell people it's like an insurance policy for your family, because the money keeps coming, so.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Yeah. Great. All right. We got to take a brief sponsor break. And when we get back, we'll have Rob tell us what's a typical day look like for him and how he stays motivated. So folks, about 20 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head, in that people at my level were charging 50 or 100 grand up front to to teach this stuff. And I knew a lot of these people that you give them 50 grand, they'd be hiding out in Tijuana, waving to Rob across the border there, and not doing anything for you. So I said, you know what, that's too risky for small business and puts them in a bad position. I'm going to just charge them an entry fee, and then I'm going to tie my success to theirs. So for me to get my 50,000, they'd have to make 200,000. Oh man, well, people love this, and 1,700 students later, it's still going strong, and it's the most unique, most successful program ever in this arena. It's unique in that, number one, you have an immersion weekend. Of course, when the pandemic's over, in the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center, we shoot high-level videos for you and edit them and put the graphics on in our TV studio next door. Everything is one-on-one. No group anything. So you, other than the trip to the retreat center, you get about 4 or 5 people, but everything else, me and all the people I've trained work with you one-on-one. We'll take over your computer. We'll teach you where to click, where not to click, and how to do this stuff. So it's like I said, the longest running, most successful, most unique program of its kind. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And when you get in this program, you get a scholarship to my school that you can gift to someone else in your life if you'd like, which was an example I gave you earlier. The one guy got in the program, gifted the thing to his daughter, and she just took off with it, because these young people, they're not fighting with the computers like us old farts, So she just took off, and she had clients in no time, and was only in the school 4 months and still has, like 6 months to go. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. Give me a call. I'm glad to talk to you about it. No high pressure. Just want to show you the value of this and what it can mean to you and your family. All right, let's get back to the main event. Rob Garcia, Dr. Rob Garcia, I might add, is with us today, and he has overcome some just unimaginable things from my life, and probably for most of our lives, to get where he is today, and he's turned it around and helping other people. So Rob, what's a typical day look like for you?
Typical day, I pop awake at about 6:30, and I usually go for a run, or I've started doing resistance band training, which has helped out a lot because my gym completely closed.
Mm-hmm.
After that's done, I make some really strong coffee, and then I usually do inspirational Facebook Live in the morning. Try and do one every morning, and just motivate people to build that mindset, start their day off right. And then a couple hours, I'll do client work, and then maybe an hour of project work. And then I'll usually have something to work on as far as social media or monitoring my Design Your Paycheck group. And that's about a day. And then I end it like everybody else, glass of red wine and forensic files.
Forensic files, yeah. So how do you stay motivated? I heard you say, yeah, I'm in this big estate by myself. You're in that big house or apartment by yourself. So how do you stay motivated? How do you keep getting up and doing this every day and working?
It's exciting to see the change in people's lives. And I know you've experienced this when you see a crazy client result. So like one of my clients just sold a $7,500 package the other day, and he was thrilled. We had 2 calls, and he just, we put the package together. He put it out there to somebody, and they bought. And so when I see the effect of my training on somebody that wouldn't have had it, on their own, that's really what inspires me. Just showing them the stuff that I've done, really resetting their mindset and teaching them that they can create the life that they've always wanted, freedom.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Yeah. It's a lifestyle, like our friend, Stephen Kuhn says, quality of life, so yeah, it's a lifestyle business. You really can create when you do what Rob teaches and I teach. You really can create whatever you want. There's nobody stopping you for doing what you want to do. And that's one of the things I've preached for years is I only deal with people I like. If I don't like you, just take a hike, just get out of I don't have to deal with you. Or unlike a job where you got to see them every day. No, it's not that way. So thanks for coming on. How did they find all this stuff of yours, Rob?
If they want to reach out to me, they can find all this stuff on my main site at yournextlevelofsuccess.com.
All right, say it slower. Your
next level of success.com.
Okay, we'll have that in the show notes. And they can learn about the Design Your Paycheck. And does that lead to your books at all, or that's all going to be on Amazon or Lulu?
The books are separate, but they can learn about Design Your Paycheck or Tactical CEQ, and there are some free training videos on the site as well.
Got it. Yeah, Tactical CEQ is the other 6-week group course, right? So, so thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Thanks for your service again. Again, you're such an inspiration to all our listeners and me too, because like I said, I had it pretty good, and you didn't, and you overcame it, which is it makes it a rare individual.
Thanks, Tom. I really had a good time, and I appreciate you and all you do.
All right, man. So everybody, we'll catch you all on the next episode. This is Vetrepreneurs Month at Screw the Commute. See you later.